Special series tonight.
Well, there's now a federal investigation underway in the deadly California off-road race crash. What a horrific scene that was. Feds now want to know if the promoter of this race followed the safety rules that are set in the contract. And that contract specifically states that spectators must be at least 100 feet away from the track. You can see that does not appear to be the case, at least in this tape that we're looking at. Videos from Saturday's crash show them inches, in some cases, from the speeding off-roaders. 8 people lost their lives in this terrible scene over the weekend. The driver of this truck, we're told, is not expected to face any charges.
I don't think that the government should interfere in people's religion, what they believe, who they pray to, where they pray. I do think that a mosque would enhance the cultural diversity of our city. 9/11 did leave a permanent hole in our hearts in this city, but it did, I think, make us believe more strongly than ever in what this country stands for. If we shout down a mosque and community center because it is 2 blocks away from the site where freedom was attacked, I think it would be a sad day for America.
That was the mayor, Michael Bloomberg, weighing in again on this controversial plan to build a mosque near Ground Zero. My next guest says this is not about religious freedom. This is about being an American. Dr. Jasser is the president and founder of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy. He's my guest out of Phoenix today. Doctor, good morning. What's your message?
Yeah, our message is that, I agree with the mayor. The government should not be stepping in. The president really shouldn't have weighed in on this. It's just making it a mess, and his passive-aggressive comments, I think, have been not helpful. And I'll tell you, of those 70% of Americans that think that this is a bad idea, I would hazard to guess that a significant number of Muslims disagree, and that's why we're speaking out, in that this is not the right strategy. If the Muslim community could build a $100 million structure, why not build in 100 cities $1 million each, a structure to fight terrorism, to fight Al-Qaeda, but just to have this swimming pool and civic center think that somehow this is going to help our condition. We have had the busiest year in terror plots against this country in the last 12 months, and this is not the right message to send. I think it is offensive to those families, and the lens through which I personally have looked at 9/11 and Ground Zero is as an American. It's not a place to sell Islam or do this type of positive image making of our faith. It's about coming together as Americans, pure and simple.
What would be acceptable given the current scenario, do you think?
There's a lot of options. I think now that the president has weighed in, the parties need to come together. Governor Patterson came in and said, they will help them relocate if necessary. If they're going to have a structure there, it should be a interfaith, pluralist structure, not based just on Islam, but Judaism, Christianity, and all faiths, and meld it into something purely American and not quote-unquote Islamic.
You have helped build mosques, have you not?
Yeah, my family, from when I grew up in Wisconsin, there was this first mosque in northeastern Wisconsin we built there. In Arizona, there was some controversy after 9/11 when we built a mosque, and we stood by our First Amendment rights and built it because that is a completely different issue than what's going on in the hallowed ground in New York. So you have some
credibility on this. I just want to show you what we found in our Fox polling. I think the following 2 questions and the numbers are quite telling. We asked Americans whether or not building a mosque is right or wrong. 64% say it's wrong. But then we asked, do they have the right to build? 61% say, yes, they have a right. What does that tell you as an American and a Muslim?
And this is where I was upset with the president, in that his condescension to America, that somehow we need lectures on religious freedom and the First Amendment. There's no fudging with the First Amendment. Nobody's saying they don't have a right to do it. I'm saying, especially as a Muslim, this is the wrong thing to do. Every day we all make choices not based on what we can do, but on what we should do. And I think it is wrong for Muslims to support this because it is not in the best interest of where we should be going in fighting terrorism.
Right, and it seems, I understand your point, and you made that in the first answer too. It seems that there's a lot of suspicion about Imam Rauf. Now, I don't know if you know him or if you have met him, but what have you learned about him?
I'll tell you, I don't know him personally. We've debated on blogs and things like that. And one of my problems with many of these people is they use a paradigm of, well, good Muslim is nonviolent, bad Muslim is violent. And that is just oversimplified. There's a continuum of a slippery slope of ideology, which is apologetics for Sharia law, the Islamic State. And he seems to say that Sharia law is like the Declaration of Independence. And I think that's an apologetic that's dangerous, feeds into a separatist narrative, and actually shows that he's not going to be leading the war of ideas, but actually just apologetics that is anesthetize people to thinking that somehow we're going to make change, when in fact they're not doing the reforms, the hard reforms necessary to modernize. And he's also said things against American foreign policy and against who we are as Americans that I think is going to feed into the Islamist narrative.
You have an interesting perspective, and others would argue that this is something that has to be constructed because it would help build the bridge that's necessary between America and the Islamic faith, and it's a debate that will continue. Doctor, thank you for your time. Out of Phoenix today. To our viewers, log on to our show page, foxnews.com/America's Newsroom. Should President Obama have stayed out of the Ground Zero mosque debate? Yes, he should not have gone there. No, America needs to know where he stands. Weigh in, see what other people are saying. Vote now, foxnews.com/America's Newsroom. Interesting perspective there.
Yeah, very interesting perspective. And here's a story that is still around for a very good reason. He is the only man ever convicted in the Pan Am bombing over Lockerbie, Scotland. Why he was set free and one senator's demands.